The roles of journalists in any election, no doubt, cannot be underestimated. This is the reason for this workshop, where participants were advised to focus on issues in their reportage.
We're hoping that this workshop will underscore to the journalists of this region their vital role in helping the 2019 election be free, fair, and represent the people of Nigeria.
The U.S. Consulate also organized a sensitization program for some stakeholders in collaboration with the Independent National Electoral Commission ahead of the elections.
One of the primary things that citizens need to do is they need to educate themselves. They need to educate themselves about the issues, and they need to educate themselves about the candidate. They need to hold their candidates to task. And as I was saying, you don't vote for somebody because they're your cousin or because they live down the street for you. You vote for people because they support your position. But your responsibility, do the research, register, and then vote.
Hello and welcome to this special edition of Africa Today. I am Esther Omokbariola. In today's episode, I will be speaking with United States Consulate Public Affairs Officer Miss Darcy Zotter as she departs Nigeria after a 25-year career as a U.S. Department of State Foreign Service officer. Good to have you.
Thank you.
On the program.
Thank you. I appreciate your coming by. Thank you.
And I appreciate you having us as well. Now let's begin with your years of service in Nigeria. How has it been like?
I've been here for 2 years and I have enjoyed it tremendously. I have learned so much. This was my first time to serve in Africa, and I can't think of a better place to serve than Nigeria.
Really?
It's so dynamic. And like when I tell people I work in Nigeria, they're kind of like, really, Nigeria? So Nigeria's sort of got that like kind of cool edge, you know, like, yeah.
And so what's that cool edge that
Well, it's sort of like Nigeria's where it's happening. You know, it's happening economically, it's happening culturally, you know. Kind of Nigeria's at the forefront of a lot of things in Africa. I think of fashion in particular.
Fashion?
Yes.
And I think I see that on your body today.
With I do.
Your Ankara and your beads.
I love them. And since I've been here, one of the things that I've sort of gone out of my way to learn more about is Nigerian fashion, in particular using Ankara. Where I'm from in the United States, Pittsburgh, we don't really have this, so it was all new to me, and I just love it.
And talking about, you know, some Nigerianness that you say you like in this place, could you tell us more about it? You know, aside from the Ankara and the beads, what exactly do you like about Nigeria?
I like a lot of the art. In particular, I like the art where you use fabrics, you know, like a dire cloth. I personally am into needle arts a lot. So I'm a quilter. I quilt, I knit, I do those kinds of things. So those arts, those Nigerian arts resonate with me. So I like those a lot. I also, of course, like the food. Since I've been here, I've gained 4 kilos. Yes. Jollof rice. I could eat that all the time. Yes. So those sorts of things. I also like the music. I'm not as expert in the music as I am, say, in some other art forms, like I said, like needlework and things like that.
And the jollof rice, I guess it must have been tasty, because that has been some war.
Yeah, it's been quite tasty, quite tasty.
All right, let's come down to your stay, your service here in Nigeria. Give us a feel of, walk us through on what are some of those things you've done. For instance, entrepreneurship workshops for budding Nigerian entrepreneurs in Lagos and Port Harcourt. Tell us exactly what it has been like.
It's been interesting and challenging and rewarding. And in preparation for my departing, I'm putting together notes for my successor. And I was looking back at what we've done over the last 2 years, and we've done quite a bit. one thing, like you mentioned. We focused a lot of effort on the youth. And by youth, we've gone primarily 2 routes. One is through entrepreneurship. So we've held a couple of events, trainings, couple-day trainings, and then we're monitoring them for emerging entrepreneurs. We did that in Lagos and we did that in Port Harcourt. We've done science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education programs across the board. We've done robotics training, we've done coding training, we brought in tech women, so we've done that a lot. Then we've had the traditional programs like the Mandela Washington Fellows, Young African Leadership Initiatives. We've focused on the youth quite a bit, and it's been dynamic. It's been rewarding.
Wow.
It's been rewarding.
And these youth that you say you've helped in Lagos and Port Harcourt, how are they able to stand on their feet in terms of what kind of support have you given them?
Well, for instance, looking at the emerging entrepreneurs, those people were actually tracking them after they left our program. So moving forward, what we've been able to do for them is provide more mentoring support. We've been able to put them in touch with different banks and sources of funding. So we've worked with them. And in those 2 conferences, we have definite successes. And we define success as people who prior to the conference were not able to support themselves. Now they are. They support themselves or others. So that's another thing we've done. Another thing that we've done in this office is we provide small grants. And we provide those grants primarily to civil service organizations. Some of them are small, some of them are large. Like the large ones are WIMBIZ, other activities to the Sickle Cell Foundation. Then small ones, we've done just individuals, like one individual in Owari who is working on training women how to farm for fish. So big things and little things.
And that's quite commendable because, you know, in a place like Nigeria, we have lots of young entrepreneurs finding something tangible to do with their time. But looking at what you say you've offered in terms of grants, how does one really get to take part of this? What kind of process is involved? You know, do you offer these grants to these individuals you say you've come out to assist?
So this year, just for Consulate Lagos, we put out a call for what we call a notice of funding opportunity, and we had 1,400 proposals submitted to us. I know, it was a lot. It was overwhelming. So one of the first steps that we do is we make sure that these, in fact, support mission priorities. And one of our top priorities here is economic development, educational development, supporting women and children. So we make sure they support those. Then the next thing that we look at is, do they support the community? Are they giving back? Is this a good grantee? So it's a long process, but we're right now actually awarding those grants. So right before I came here this morning, I was sending a couple yes letters, but I have to say I was also sending a couple no's, like I'm very sorry, it's been very competitive this year.
All right, now in terms of media capacity development programs, tell us what exactly you've done in your office.
Most recently, we went on a 2-week road trip, what we called road trip. And we went to Port Harcourt, we went to Enugu, we went to Oshobo, and then we came back to Lagos.
You mean Oshobo?
Yeah. Yeah.
For the sake of our viewers, because it's called Oshobo.
Right, that's where we went. That's where we went.
That should be in Osun State, right?
Right, yes.
Right.
Yes. We went there, and what we did there was we had a Nigerian trainer, and we paired him up with an American trainer from Voice of America. Right. And we went to each of these 4 cities, and we held 2-day trainings on election reporting. So we do those kinds of things. Another thing we do is we have the International Visitors Leadership Program, and we send journalists on that. Another thing that we've done is we also held training in Lagos and in Port Harcourt on investigative reporting. We've held 1-day session for the Guild of Editors. So what we try to do is respond to what the media wants. We try really hard to listen and to see, okay, what would be useful to you? And which was one of the reasons why we did the election reporting, because in the lead up to the elections, both state level as well as federal level, there was a request, an acknowledgement that some of the challenges the media faced in 2015 were different than the challenges they're facing now in 2018 and 2019. They wanted some suggestions just to refresh their skills and look at these. What do we do? How do we address this?
And so far it has been successful?
Appears to be successful based on the feedback that we got. I'm always pleased when people that are somewhat skeptical, like you get the person, oh, I've worked at this paper for 20 years and I'm not sure what you people can teach me, or I've been with that TV station for 15 years. So those people that come in a bit skeptical, but at the end of it, they say to me, it was 2 days well spent.
Wow.
And so I'm always pleased with that.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Now let's go to your part of what you say you do, mentoring for women groups and others. You know, tell us a bit about that. How far have you gone in that?
So what we did there, along the way, we've done some informal mentoring, and for instance, we focused a lot on the alumni, our alumni of U.S. government exchange programs, and so there we have established these informal partnerships. But then we decided to take it a step further. So about 2 weeks ago, we did a program for about 70 to 80 women representing 6 sectors. Okay, so 80 women, 6 sectors.
Can you tell us the 6 sectors?
Yes, there was finance, media, fashion, tech, education. So what we did there is we focused on presenting them with a formal mentoring program that they might want to incorporate creative arts. That was the 6th one. So we focused on introducing them to a formalized program of mentoring. We walked them through it. Then we broke up, and they broke up into their groups, their sector groups. Then they brainstormed amongst themselves about, okay, what could we do? We also gave them all the materials on flash drives so that they could take it back and plug it in and share it with others. So for instance, the media group, I heard, met the following Saturday to get together to see, okay, what can we do with this program? So it was pretty successful, I think.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Because, you know, lots of people love mentoring these days to help them, you know, to become better individuals. But in terms of your support for persons living with disabilities, because we have lots of people, you know, who need special help.
Right.
And in our climb, we get to see lots of facilities not being provided for these special ones, that's those disabled. Tell us what have you done in that light, in that area?
One of the things I'm most pleased with, and I'm saying this as a former special education teacher, one of the most useful things that we've done is that we were able to provide funding for a center, a tech center for people with disabilities. So that center actually will use a lot of assistive technology. So it's free and it's open. Another thing that we did is that we sent a woman who is a disability activist. She went to the United States on an IVLP, International Visitors Leadership Program, and she focused on accessibility. How can you make, in a sense, how can you retrofit? Come to a place like Lagos that may not have done a lot of this. How can you do that affordable? Make physical structures accessible.
Right.
So we've looked at this primarily from an education issue as well as an accessible issue. And that's what we've focused on, making it easier for people with disabilities to be included.
And that's the point, because accessibility is a challenge for these disabled ones. Take, for instance, if you go, you know, in major parts in Lagos, in malls, in
Right.
pedestrian bridges, there isn't access to these disabled ones. Now you say you've given grants, so you've helped fund some centers that cater for disabled persons. How far have you gone to ensure that these centers provide these facilities to help these disabled
Well,
ones?
what we do with those is that we work with those groups, we monitor those groups, and in the case of one group, we actually were able to help that get a larger grant, a much larger grant from the United States, from the Department of State. And so some of these other groups, I've advised them, particularly the groups that focus on disability from a health perspective, as well as an education perspective, that USAID also does a lot here. And that's another source, potential source of funding.
Right.
And another thing that I did was put groups in touch with different groups in the United States. So for instance, Mobility International. It's a US-based group,
Right.
and I linked them up with Nigerian groups. So now they're seeing what they can do together.
All right. All right, let's quickly go on a quick break. You're watching Africa Today. We'll have more discussions on this after this short time out. Welcome back. You're still on to the special edition of Africa Today, and I still have with me U.S. Consulate Public Affairs Officer, Miss Darcy Zotter. Now, to the issue of disabled persons. Now, you were telling me, that United States is funding some centers to help, provide accessibility for disabled persons, but particularly in some public institutions, you get to see lots of them with stairs without ramps, Does it really bother you?
Well, personally, it bothers me a lot. And I should explain that one, as I mentioned, I was a special education teacher. Secondly, I had the honor and the privilege to work for a year for the senator who was the lead drafter of the Americans with Disabilities Act. So that was Senator Tom Harkin. Why did he want me? He wanted me there to bring the disability agenda, introduce it outside of the United States, to see what the United States government could do to assist other countries. And so that was one of the reasons he had me working for him. So yes, it absolutely does bother me. Now, turning to the U.S. experience though, if you look at what propelled the U.S. disabilities agenda forward, it was primarily concerned parents in the 50s and the 60s. And one of the watershed moments was in 1976 when we passed the Individual with Disabilities Education Act. It's called IDEA. Okay, passed it in 1976. And that was a sea change. It was pushed primarily by parents of kids with disabilities who said, my child should be afforded a good, free education. And it forced us.
And it really helped, did it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, let's come to some of your diplomacy grants award system in some communities across southern Nigeria. Could you expatiate more on what you've done in that light?
I think if you're referring to, for instance, like the small grants program, okay, we have done a host of things. Okay, I'm going to do it sort of region by region. Kind of in Port Harcourt, one of the grants that sticks out is that we worked with some disability activists to provide training for women who have disabilities, so that those women would be able to support themselves. A lot of times, women with disabilities find it challenging to get work outside of the home, to contribute economically to their families. So working with a person who is herself has a disability, we were able to fund her training program. And that was, we're 20 women now who now have skills and they can support themselves. We've done other grants like in Owari, we did fish farming. We've done in like Oyo City and Oyo State and Ocean State. We've done grants on teaching. We've done code liner grants. We've done robotics training. We've done a lot.
You've done a lot.
We've done a lot of different things.
And
It's very
I
interesting.
think you, Oyo City, I think you meant Ibadan, because Oyo City, the capital of Oyo, is Ibadan.
No, we actually went to Oyo City.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh,
That's
yeah.
Oyo City.
We actually went beyond Oyo City. And at a certain point, oh, yeah. Oh, no. I know where Oyo City is. We went to Oyo City, and we went beyond Oyo City. And there we were. And we had this grant, and I remember saying to a guy I work with, why are we out here? And he said, because that's all the money we gave them. I'm like, okay. So, yes, we weren't even in Oyo City. It was beyond there.
Beyond there, I guess. Now, you say you have passion for education. You
I do.
love to help people gain knowledge. Tell me now, how are you able to help Nigerians who are seeking higher education in the United States?
I could hug you for asking that. Okay, it's one of my favorite topics. I just want to point out that on Tuesday in this room, we packed in more than 100 people, and those were all people who are going to the United States to study in academic year 2018, 2019, or who aspire to, but primarily most of them are already going. We know, for instance, that for academic year 2018 and 2019, over 250 of these students that we've assisted through Education USA have garnered over $4 million in scholarships.
Wow.
I know. That's not U.S. government money. That's American colleges and universities. American colleges and universities want African students. They want qualified, good students from Africa.
Why? Particular reasons?
Okay, absolutely. Primary reason, there's a dearth of African voices on our campuses. And one of the things, if you meet American educators at the tertiary level, one of the things that they will explain to you is that a primary goal of our colleges and universities is to prepare our students to live in the world. And as one gentleman, the chancellor of the University of Iowa, pointed out, the world doesn't look like me. The world looks like you and me sitting together. And right now, in the United States, there are only about 36,000, it's a little less than 36,000 students from Nigeria. That's out of 1 million students. Now, that's simply not enough. Nigeria is actually the top sending school for sub-Saharan Africa. It's #1. About 35% of the sub-Saharan African students come from Nigeria. Nigeria, in terms of world ranking, is #12.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is. Now, you'll see, like, and I hope you come to it, in September, Education USA will hold another fair. And we'll be bringing over admissions reps from colleges and universities in the United States. And you'll notice that there are going to be more this year than there were the year before. There was more last year than the year before that. So there's growing interest among our colleges and universities. So why? Are they focused on Nigeria? One, they want African students, but they don't want just any African student. They want African students they know will do well. So the African students, Nigerian students, have done well. Traditionally, they have a good track record. So that's one thing. Another reason why they're attracted to Nigeria, English-speaking country.
Oh, really?
So that makes it easier. It makes it just easier for them to transit. Yes, exactly.
I guess as much.
Exactly.
Now, still talking about education, which most Nigerians, travel to the United States to seek. One issue one would say is the issue of visas. That's one has to get that before getting to the United States. Tell us, what are the processes that one must know when applying for visa to get an education in the United States?
Okay. To get a student visa, that's actually what we call an F1 visa, is a different process than getting a tourist business visa, which we call B1, B2. And I would encourage everybody listening to go to educationusa.state.gov, and there it will spell out in detail what you need to do if you're going for a student visa. But I'd like to point out that for the past 7 years, the number of students, number of Nigerian students studying in the United States has increased. So for instance, this year over the previous year, it's gone up by almost 10%. Right. So this idea that you can't get a visa is simply a myth. If you are a qualified student going to an accredited American university, you have a good chance of being issued a visa. It's likely you will be issued a visa.
Really? So no holds barred, nothing stopping anyone because of the fears that perhaps
I would
security?
encourage everybody, but I just want to emphasize those 2 words, qualified. Okay, to just put it bluntly, we have enough mediocre students. So you've got to be a good student coming from a good school. So if you're a good student coming from a good school, that's qualified, going to an accredited. In the United States, we also have some schools that aren't accredited. So you want to check on that website that I mentioned to make sure it's an accredited college. Then it's likely that you will get issued a visa.
All right, and on that note, I'd like to thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, Darcy Zotter, for your time on Africa Today and also all you've said on the program. It's a
Thank
pleasure.
you. Thanks, Esther. Thank you. Thanks very much.
All right, and that's it on today's edition of Africa Today. Thanks for being a part of it. I am Esther Omokwariola. Bye for now.